Good news, everyone! It's me, here to hook you up with some good stuff. In a recent move, John Deere, one of the world's largest makers of farming equipment, has agreed to give its US customers the right to fix their own equipment. Previously, farmers were only allowed to use authorized parts and service facilities. Well, one would think that something like that should be naturally given, yet here we are. This agreement comes as a response to consumer groups and farmers who have been calling for companies to allow customers to fix everything from smartphones to tractors. The American Farm Bureau Federation and Deere & Co. signed a memorandum of understanding that addresses the long-running issue for farmers and ranchers of accessing tools, information, and resources while protecting John Deere's intellectual property rights and ensuring equipment safety. The UK government has brought into force new laws of ensuring that new homes in England will be fitted with infrastructure and connections capable of delivering gigabit broadband, the fastest internet speeds on the market. The building regulations 2010 have been amended to ensure that new homes in England will be built with the fastest broadband connections, enabling residents to have access to faster internet speeds as soon as they move in. Additionally, the new Telecommunications Infrastructure Act makes it easier for broadband providers to gain access to install equipment in blocks of flats when faster connection is requested by a tenant. This will enable telecom firms to get faster broadband to 9 million people living in blocks of flats across the UK. Uganda has declared the end of its Ebola outbreak, less than 4 months after causes were first reported. The country has reported no new infections in more than 42 days, which is twice the maximum incubation period of the virus and is a World Health Organization benchmark for a country to be declared Ebola-free. Uganda was able to put an end to the outbreak by ramping up key control measures such as surveillance, contact tracing, and infection prevention and control. The Uganda Red Cross said it would not immediately pull out from affected areas. This is a great achievement for the country, and new research shows that retinal cells grown from stem cells can connect with neighbors, which could be a step towards human clinical trials for degenerative eye disorders. Researchers at the University of Wisconsin-Madison developed a way to grow organized clusters of cells called organoids that resemble the retina, which they hope can be used to replace cells lost due to diseases such as retinitis pigmentosa, I don't know if I pronounced that right, and age-related macular degeneration. The team published studies in 2022 showing that dish-grown retinal cells called photoreceptors respond to light in a similar way to healthy cells and can reach out to new neighbors with characteristic biological codes called axons. And the Earth's ozone layer is on its way to recovering, thanks to decades of work to get rid of ozone-damaging chemicals, according to a panel of international experts backed by the United Nations. The ozone layer serves an important function for living things on Earth by protecting humans and the environment from harmful levels of the sun's ultraviolet radiation. After the discovery of a hole in the ozone layer in 1985, international bodies adopted a global agreement called the Montreal Protocol, which established the phase-out of almost 100 synthetic chemicals that were tied to the destruction of the ozone layer. In the latest report on the progress of the Montreal Protocol, the UN-backed panel confirmed that nearly 99% of banned ozone-depleting substances have been phased out. The ozone layer is expected to recover to 1980 values by 2040. And a critically endangered subspecies of rhinoceros gave birth to a calf on December 31 at the Kansas City Zoo, which is a very special start to the new year. The calf is walking, nursing, and even playing with its mother Zuri. The zoo is holding off on conducting an exam to determine its gender and health, and the public will be able to help the zoo name the calf. There are only 740 eastern black rhinoceroses left in the wild, making the birth of the calf even more significant, and the main threats for the species are poaching and lack of safe habitat. Speaking of critically endangered, a critically endangered western chimpanzee was born at Chester Zoo, which is considered to be the world's rarest chimpanzee by conservationists. The zoo said the birth was a small but vital boost to the global population of the species, which is under huge threat in the wild. The baby is in good health and has bonded well with its mother and the rest of the troop. The birth of the chimpanzee is important as the species is under threat from hunting, for the illegal bush meat trade, diseases spread by humans, and extensive habitat loss and forest destruction across West Africa. The US Food and Drug Administration has granted accelerated approval to lecanemab, an experimental drug to treat Alzheimer's disease. The drug, which will be marketed as Leqembi, has shown potential to slow progression of the disease in phase 3 trials. However, the FDA has raised safety concerns about its association with certain serious adverse events, including brain swelling and bleeding. The accelerated approval program allows for early approval of medications that treat serious conditions and fill an unmet medical need, while the drugs continue to be studied in larger and longer trials. The drug's benefits will be confirmed in further trials, otherwise it could be taken off the market. I think even though it's experimental, in my opinion it's still better than letting the disease run rampant. Gives people hope. And to news from the country I live in, the German government announced plans to support thousands of young Afghan women with study scholarships. The program aims to help around 5,000 young people who have fled from the Taliban repression to neighboring countries such as Bangladesh, Kyrgyzstan, or Pakistan. This initiative is specifically targeting Afghan women who have been banned from studying in their home country since December. The Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development is funding the program with about 7 million euros, and the goal is to train specialists who can advance education and development in Afghanistan. Researchers have found that psychedelics have the potential to be used as treatments for mental health issues. Studies have shown that therapy sessions using psychedelics like psilocybin may provide long-term relief from mental distress caused by cancer, and LSD has been found to decrease anxiety in individuals with terminal illnesses. However, scientific research into psychedelics came to a halt in the 1970s and has been heavily stigmatized as dangerous. But public opinion is slowly starting to change, and AI is helping to discover molecules that provide the most benefit at mapping the brain to identify which areas are responsible for the therapeutic benefits. And this is it for this week's Good News. Yes, I've changed the name to Good News. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll tune in next week as well. See you soon.